the host of the president that night, reported to Jay Leno during the Tonight Show that the president was not in the house, but rather in the driveway, and that the alleged injury, and again, it's alleged. Well, we know he had surgery, so it wasn't an injury.
Well, I mean, it was an injury. We just don't know how.
Right, exactly. Here's the rub of it. Injury had occurred at 23:30 hours on March 13th. This is coming from Greg from Norman. Okay, not the news reporting agencies, which said it was later on. Now, what's mind-blowing to me, and I just found this out, and I cannot believe this, if this is true, that means that at 11:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, troubleshooter 615 takes a dip in the Atlantic Ocean for no reason whatsoever, right? Apparently, right? That's the story that they put out.
Right.
10 minutes later, at 22:30 hours, which is 11:30, on the same night, on the East Coast, in Hobie Sound, in Florida, Clinton blows his knee out. Simultaneously, at 9:19 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Arizona time, we are at the height of the Phoenix Lights. So, I find it hard to believe that it's all just a coincidence.
Well, I don't believe in those.
I mean, you get one thing, you get two things, you get three things,
All right, let's move on to the satellite.
Yeah.
That something happened to that. Now, this is fascinating.
And I have a theory behind this, too.
All during the same time period now, right?
Yeah, same night, March 13th. And there's way more, and you can see it's on the website. I mean, this just gets deeper and deeper. The whole comment about, communism, it's a riddle wrapped in an enigma and whatever, and a potato. I mean, this has got nothing. That's got nothing on this. Bill Hamilton reported that he had received a report. We're still trying to corroborate it. I don't know if it's been exactly corroborated, but of course, information like this is rarely corroborated, especially if it comes from a military source. But apparently, we know for a fact that there was a satellite called the Misty 3 satellite, which is miniature, individual size transmitter or whatever. It was just a bunch of instrument packages on a satellite. It's miniature satellite. Miniature packages on a satellite. So it probably would have had various sensors on it. Infrared, ultraviolet, who knows? Different kinds of sensors, measuring different spectrums. And apparently this Misty satellite was covering North America. And the thing was that it wasn't destroyed. What had happened, the report is, that a spaceborne object was observed passing over the satellite and drained its batteries.
Draining its batteries.
Drained its batteries.
I love this.
Now, here's where it gets really juicy. The manufacturer of the satellite, and this is Bill Hamilton who broke this story, and I think maybe Mike Forsythe had something to do. I'm not really sure, but anyway, those guys, whatever, they need to get credit for it. The satellite manufacturer was actually it was out of Arizona. I guess the military decided after they found out that this satellite was disabled, only because the batteries were dead now, that they were going to test fire a new developmental laser that they had to see if the laser would work. Now, the manufacturer of the satellite said, "What are you doing, man? I don't want you to blow my satellite up. There's nothing wrong with it." Well, the military went ahead and did it anyway. So this satellite, which was apparently covering North America, was disabled, and I have a theory behind this, that what happened possibly is that there's no question that these craft are invisible to radar. And that makes sense to me because either the propulsion drive, whether it's anti-gravity or zero spin, or there's really probably more than one way to do it.
They wanted that satellite out of the way.
Yes. Well, it sounds like, the game's up, the jig's up, folks. Boom, satellite's gone.
Yep.
I think what happened was that those guys, those four brave pilots, and who knows what their true mission was. I mean, it was called Troubleshooter 5615. You go figure. Okay. Was coming in. The standard operating procedure is for the two pilots to take their night goggles off because when they get close to the ship, the lights will blind them if they have those on. And they need time to adjust to those lights. So they take them off typically, 5-10 minutes ahead of time. I could be wrong, but, a good, not 2 seconds before you're getting ready to land. You know what I mean? I think what happened was that probably one of the two other guys in the back didn't take it off. And I think as they came in on approach that there was a boomerang-shaped craft which, from a satellite, looking down, would not see by radar, but you'd be very difficult to hide the heat signature or the lack of a heat signature. In other words, you would see a black hole if you're looking at it through an infrared scope.
Boy, Bill, they could knock out every satellite that we have if they
wanted. But they didn't.
No.
but they didn't.
They just took one out.
Just the one that they had to.
Maybe, or maybe to tell us something.
Who knows, man? But but it says something that the batteries were drained and not just destroyed. It's almost like a velvet glove. It's like, what you just kind of hit on. It was like they could have if they wanted to, but they didn't.
But
Why? Why did they just? If they have that, you know what I mean?
Tell me about this gamma ray burst. Also, that Hubble kind of captured, huh?
This just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
I mean, and there's more of these we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and again, all of them are around the same time period, other than the 52 wave over Norfolk as well. But tell us about Hubble. What did it do?
What happened? Gamma ray bursts, just real quick, because people may not know what they are the largest. Gamma ray burst is the most amount of energy that's released by any type of space event that we know of. And a gamma ray burst, just to give an example, can last anywhere from 10 seconds to a couple of minutes to a couple of days. Well, maybe not that long, but they've been known to be observed, not as strong as before. But the point is that they will release more energy in a very short period of time. We're talking minutes, seconds, hours, maybe, than the whole sun will release in its whole lifetime. And in a few seconds, that's how much energy is released. And some of these gamma ray bursts will release more energy than 100 suns in that lifetime. And scientists these were actually discovered by satellites that were sent up, the Vela X-5b satellites, which were sent up right around the time we landed on the moon. And at first they were top secret because they were supposed to be looking for gamma ray bursts, and these were the signatures of nuclear explosions. And we were trying to see what the Russians were doing. But I have a pet theory that and I do believe that gamma ray bursts, there's no question, some of them are caused. You have soft gamma ray repeaters and SGRBs and stuff like that. Some of these are caused by collapsing black holes and superneutron stars. And there's 1,200 papers a year that have been published on this stuff, trying to figure out what it is. No, I don't think anybody really has the absolute definitive answer for every type of gamma ray burst. There are different kinds, but I think at least some of them are the byproduct of extraterrestrial craft. Because if you have attained the technology to travel vast distances across time and space, I'm going to imagine that it requires a vast amount of energy.
I see where you're headed with this.
Okay. So, possibly, they might have been looking for gamma ray bursts in the Earth, but you know what? A lot of those satellites weren't pointing towards the Earth. Okay? They were pointing out in space. And so what happened on March 13th was that the Hubble Space Telescope, for the first time in history, which kind of indicates that possibly they had a heads up that something was going to happen. A gamma ray burst took place on March. It was called GRB 970228, which basically just means February 20th, 1997. Which, again, is, if you go back and look at the history of the UFO reports, is basically when the UFO flap kind of began and increased until March 13th. But gamma ray burst 970228, for the first time in history, the Hubble Space Telescope took a picture of what's called an optical transient. Up until this time, no optical telescope, was able to actually take a picture of a gamma ray burst. So we knew the energy that was being expelled. We had a good idea of where they were coming from, but we never had a picture of it. That's all I'm saying. By the time it had come and gone, and we could triangulate where it was and pick it up and point a telescope at it, we didn't see what was there. This was different. On March 13th, 1997, not only did the Hubble Space Telescope get a picture, but the New Technology Telescope in Lucilla, Chile, took a long, close look at those coordinates and discerned a diffuse, uneven glow. That same day, Hubble Space Telescope later resolved to be a bright point surrounded by a somewhat elongated background object.
Hubble may have captured that. Just incredible. We'll come back in a moment. We'll talk about some UFO escapades 55 years ago. Also,